All right. Q&A Friday. Oops. Got to start broadcasting over there. All right. Hopefully everybody out there in Friday land is ready for Halloween, because you should be. Anyway. All right. I was watching Code Panel 7 today, talking marinas. And hey, Nihad. Hey, buddy. Hey, you like that? You like that view? I may try to get MobiCam going. All right, man. I got it all going on. So Code Panel 7 is going on right now, Nihad, and they were covering, that's marinas and all that good stuff. So I was watching that yesterday and today. I watched Code Panel 15 yesterday. So, that's one of the things I like about doing the virtual stuff is you get to watch what's going on, and I think that's powerful, and being able to see everybody together. So rain, of course, will change. So Wednesday is Stonewall. So Nia, hey, Mr. Ryan Jackson, they were talking about you on Panel 7, brother. They said you took a victory lap, and you made a very good point on what section? I believe it was 540, if I'm not mistaken. Man, you made a very good, valid point, and your point was that they were referencing. Was it 540? No, it wasn't mine. 540. It was maybe 640. Maybe 640. It was assemblies, and there's an installation section, and there was, hey, Gustavo, good to see you. Steve Frobing, happy Friday in the house. Anyway, you probably know, Ryan, what they're talking about, but they were talking about your public comment where there's two sections. In whatever section it was in, one section said installation requirements, the other section said construction requirements. You pointed out that what they had in the construction requirements were actually installation requirements. They agreed with you in the public input when they rejected your statement. And they still didn't move it, though. But I think what now, to criticize you a little bit, I love you, brother, love you. But you probably should have relocated it up into the installation requirements. So you had one public input or public comment deleting the sentence about the marking requirements, put that up in the installation, because one of their issues were that you told them to delete it. They didn't want to delete it, but then they didn't take the time to say where it should go. So, and you know what they say? I look forward to your public input. Gustavo, good to see you. Steve Froming, Nikolai, Tesla, que pasa? Hola, mi amigos, buenos dias, buenos noches, buenos tardes, and all that jazz. So I'm waiting for them to bring up my public input, comment, and reject it, because I know they're going to reject it. But that's okay, right? We all got thick skin. All right, so what was I going to talk about today? Last minute, I don't know why, but my Google Chrome will not open on this computer. So I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage because I do a lot of my stuff in Google Chrome, and I don't know why it won't open. I mean, it just won't open. But I had made a couple notes about some things that I wanted to address, some questions that came up. I don't know if you guys have, hey, Ireland in the house. You know what I was just drinking the other day? A little bit of Ardbeg and some Lafroig. All good Irish scotches. Scotch is good stuff. Where is my, I'm just looking because I had to reboot my computer, and I'm discombobulated right now. So give me a second while I try to figure out what the stuff was I was going to talk about and make sure I am going live. All right, I am live, which I see it. Now I got to go up to LinkedIn because I put some notes in LinkedIn. I had a couple things, couple areas of discussion. The first one, here it is. Oh, I was going to give a little progress report. NEC 2023. Que pasa, que pasa? Hey, and we got David Englehart in the house. So, Mr. Englehart and crew, 2023. Let's talk a little bit about what. I'm going to try my Google Chrome again. It doesn't do a doggone thing. I don't know why. Anyway. 2023 code cycle. The panel 2 is done. A lot of panels are done. Panel 15, they should be done by now. Panel 15, like, finished in a day. That's healthcare, which I was surprised at that. Some of the stuff that went on panel 2, I'll just give you a little highlight of what happened on panel 2, which, if you're in Terra, I don't know if there's code panel members out there who have access to Terra right now. I would say that some of the Terra stuff is just not updated yet. But I can tell you what happened on panel 2. Some of the milestones. 210.8. Let's talk about 210.8. We removed in kitchens, 210.8 in kitchens. 210.8. One of the discussion points that we had on GFCIs was that the hazard doesn't follow the receptacle. The hazard follows the appliance. Think about that. Which, when I was first thinking about that, it didn't dawn on me until a while after what the point that was being made by the submitters of those public inputs and comments. We made some changes in the first draft in alignment with this. So you have an appliance, and we talk about, remember, the GFCI requirements are typically driven over the distance between, say, the sink and the receptacle. And why do we do that? And the reason, in my opinion, the main reason that we do measurements off of the receptacle is because that receptacle is going to be there. The receptacle and the sink, you know where the sink is. You know where the receptacle is. You can do the measurement. And I know we did like the 6-foot rule, and we talked about, remember the debates about going through the door, going through the window, all that jazz, and all the confusion that it brings. So there was a public input. Hey, Khalil, hopefully I got your name right. Remember the public input phase, we had some dialogue with regard to, does the hazard, let's say you have a refrigerator. Let's just use a refrigerator as an example. Is the hazard the receptacle? If the refrigerator is right next to the sink, but the receptacle is 6 foot away, and the cord to that refrigerator, which probably not a realistic example, but let's say that's the case, and I plug my refrigerator in, is the receptacle the hazard, or is it the refrigerator? And it's really the refrigerator, right? Because when we look at why we made some changes in 210.8, last cycle and a couple cycles ago, we had an appliance manufacturer, and I wasn't on the panel at this time. I was sitting around the room watching the presentation, and there was an appliance manufacturer who said, look, end of life on a lot of these appliances. You've got water connected to them. You've got electricity connected to them. When they eventually fail, which nothing lasts forever, they'd present a shock hazard and a fire hazard, an electrical fire hazard. So they were seeking AFCI and GFCI protection of those appliances. And panel 2 responded favorably because they saw the data. Okay, so this single manufacturer, what we call, opened the kimono a little bit to say, hey, look, there is a problem. And so you saw an expansion to laundry areas that cycle, and I can't remember exactly which cycle it was. You saw some expansion in 210.8a and b. Now, primarily 210.8a. So now fast forward, and here we are, and I know we talked a little bit about this last cycle on panel 2. And remember, nothing I say represents the opinions of NFPA nor any other members of Codemaking Panel 2 or 10. I sit on both of them. So these are my opinions. I'm just giving you where my head is at as a member and watching as the debates and arguments and discussions and emails fly around. So the discussion that we had last cycle, someone raised the point that, look, for me to, we talked about the appliances. And in fact, it was made, this argument was made when we put appliances in some like dishwashers and whatnot into 422 and 210.8, which I'll talk a little bit about that as well. So the discussion that was made was, look, if in 210.8a only applies to receptacle outlets, if I cut the cord, as long as I'm not violating the UL listing of the appliance, if the appliance comes with a cord and plug connected, and maybe it comes with a hardwire option, which a lot of them do, you just disconnect it at the unit, you throw the cord away and you hardwire directly to it. Now I don't need GFCI protection. But the moment I put the plug on it and I plug it into a receptacle, now I need GFCI protection. And there were a few people on the code panel, and myself included, after we had started this discussion, I said, or somebody said, the hazard hasn't gone away, but yet we removed GFCI. And that's a very valid point. So, having said that, and it was briefly discussed last cycle, now into this cycle in 210.8, we got into talking about this in regard to kitchens, and there was a public comment and an input made, I believe, that wanted to remove everything after the kitchens in 7. I was going to 210.8. Remember what it says right now in 210.8a6, it says kitchens, where the receptacles are installed to serve the countertop surfaces. And so we started looking at, and remember, we expanded 210.8a, and Nihad's on here too. We expanded 210.8a to say, regardless if it's a 50, it doesn't have to just be a 15 or 20 amp circuit. It can be a larger amp rated circuit. And when you get into larger amp rated circuits, you're outside of the receptacles, you're really into appliances. At this point, 30 amp, 60 amp, you're into an appliance and the failure of an appliance. And does it matter if that appliance is close to a sink? Mr. Tim Croushore made a comment. He investigated and went to the CPSC database, and he brought and there was a dialogue going between CPSC and himself, myself, and a few others. In looking at the data of shock, and he pointed out a few issues. He said, look, the deaths that we were seeing had nothing to do with the proximity to the sink. And I think Mr. Pavisi made the same statement. He said, look, he said, the person who was killed on this appliance, A, was working on it, and B, didn't have his hands, feet, legs, or anything touching a sink. The proximity to the sink had nothing to do with the death. Robert from Omaha, welcome to see you. And hopefully you're ready for the weekend. All of those issues are valid. So what we did on panel 2 was We removed the text after kitchens, and we said, look, if it is a receptacle outlet in a kitchen, it needs to be GFCI protected. And remember, 210.8a simply says all 125 volt through 250 volt receptacles installed in the locations. It doesn't say 15 and 20 amp receptacles anymore. So anything you put in a kitchen is going to have to be GFCI protected, whether it was connected or not. Gravity Mind in the house. CMP 15 just completed their second draft meeting. Excellent. I know Brian Rock, my alternate, is on 15. I was watching him in there duking it out, man. He was duking it out. It was kind of cool. So anyway, I'm glad that they're done. And panel 7 is still going on. They're looking at public, public comment 14. I don't know. They're in 550. So anyway, gotta love this stuff. It's like, this is better than the Olympics. So, okay, so 210.8, we took out the stuff past the kitchens. We also added in 210.8a language that says, I gotta bring up my Word document. This is, Brian Holland. Hey, brother, how you doing? We also on panel 2, we put in, I'm just going to open up because I want to make sure I get it right. The GFCI was my task group, so I hope I get it right. Right, Brian? Brian Holland is Gravity Mind. That's pretty cool. All right. You got to explain what Gravity Mind means, Brian. Okay, 210.8a. We took out everything past kitchens. We also added another line of text, which I'm not showing, and I don't know why. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. That was task group 1. I got to grab task group. I mean, that was, what was that? Hope I didn't delete. All right, here we go. So I was having problems with my computer today, Brian. I don't know what the heck I did wrong, but I did something wrong. And FRTG1-6. So anyway, we added the similar text that we saw in B, which I can't find the text here right now. We added similar text that we did in B, where we said if it is a workspace, I'm in second draft. Oh, that's why. I got to go to meeting. Here we go. Sorry about that, everybody. Here we go. Now I know what we did. 210, not .52, task group 1, 210.8. Here we go. All right. We, there it is. 210.8. Now watch, it's not going to be in here either. Yeah, it is. There it is. So we added, so we added a 7. So right now, the way it looks is you're going to have in 210.8a, if it all pans out, remember, it still has to go through ballot and everything else. But we have kitchens, we have areas with sinks and permanent provisions for food preparation, beverage preparation, or cooking. And that is already in 210.8b. So we just simply said, hey, you know what? And here's the thing. This is what I'm seeing. And we did this last cycle. You saw this during the 2020 cycle. We made some changes in B, I think it was, because it was a hazard in A, and we said, well, why is it not a hazard the moment the electron does not understand it's not in a dwelling unit, right? So, so that's one of the things we did. And also we added, like around sinks where receptacles or cord and plug connected fixed or stationary appliances. So that's the other thing. And that goes back to the discussion I just had. We had a revelation. I think it's a revelation. But a lot of everybody out there knows this. I mean, the hazard is not the receptacle. The hazard is what's plugged into the receptacle. And what do? We add some distance between the body of water and the receptacle, and there's UL requirements on the length of those receptacles to try to keep them out of the water. But what we recognize in the CPSC data in the CPSC data, and a question just was texted to me, and I'm going to answer this. In the CPSC data, we recognize that there are people that are dying on some of these appliances because they're working on it. It has nothing to do with water, nothing at all. But in any case, we did make that change. So this question came in. Does UL 1053, now remember, what is UL 1053, which is a GFPE question, which is one of those that I wanted to cover. UL 1053 is the standard for ground fault protection of equipment. And the question is, does UL 1053 cover all GFPE certification, or do other standards, GFPE, apply to types I haven't considered? So here's my thoughts on that. 1053 covers all of your GFPE, whether it's in a relay, a circuit breaker, it doesn't matter. 1053 is ground fault protection of equipment. So 1053 covers all GFPE equipment, whether it is in a breaker, not a betrayer, a breaker, or a relay, or other. And I'm not aware of any other standard that covers GFPE. But now here's a big but. Let's say you have a circuit breaker, a molded case circuit breaker that is for those outside units like de-icing and whatnot. Those circuit breakers are listed to UL 1053, but they're also listed to UL 489 for circuit breakers. If I have an AFCI circuit breaker that has ground fault protection of equipment, that circuit breaker is listed to UL 489. It's listed to UL 1699, and it's also listed to UL 1053. And I will add that if there's a microprocessor in there, it's also listed to UL 1999. And UL 1999 is the one that makes sure that you don't have any issues with dates or anything like that. And then hopefully, or maybe, I'm not saying hopefully, but maybe, quite possibly, in the future, these devices might have to be listed to a cybersecurity standard so that somebody, if they're connected to the internet, that they're not opened and closed remotely that causes a safety concern. So in any case, that was a good question from a very good friend of mine. And no, I mean, it says, am I watching 7? Oh no, I'm doing my live. Oh man, you gotta love it. I'm missing. Where conductors are terminated. Oh, you gotta love it. So anyway, I just gotta respond to this one. No, I am live. All right, so 210.8. So that's GFPE. So remember, ground fault protection of equipment is not ground fault circuit interrupters. Okay, a GFCI device is listed to UL 943. A ground fault protection of equipment is UL 1053. All right, so I thought the gravity reference wasn't a coincidence. Good to see you. All right, here we go. I got to look at some of the comments as I had the Word document open. Greetings, Tom and all. CMP 15 just completed. We saw that. Brian Holland. GFCI won't protect you from becoming part of the circuit. Ronald Ramirez. Yes, if you touch hot and neutral, you are a load. There will not be an imbalance. Therefore, it will not trip. That is exactly right, Ronald Ramirez. But here's the thing. You're absolutely right. And I'll add something else, Ronald. A GFCI is designed to protect a healthy human being. Even if it does open, if you have conditions that, suffice it to say, GFCI is not a guarantee. Even if you touch hot to ground and it does open, It's not going to provide you protection if you have pre-existing conditions. Remember, GFCIs are a last resort. They are not your safety plan. That is your last resort. If you relied on a GFCI to open to save you, that means you ignored a lot of other things in the process. So a GFCI is your last resort for safety. Where are the CMP lists in the NEC handbook? Oh, there are no CMP lists in the NEC handbook, Mr. David Engelhart. I would also say there are CMP lists in this book, okay? But don't trust them. Here, I have found articles that were not assigned to any code making panel, and I'll tell you where you go to get that information. All right, let's do this. You go to www.nfpa.org/70, and then you go to technical committee, and then right here, committee, scopes and responsibility. You click on that, and this will tell you each code making panel, which article falls under each code making panel. Do not trust the stuff that's in the beginning of this book, because not all of them are up to date. And if anything changes, it will be online, live, and active. So be mindful of that, and maybe that might help you out a little bit, David. Greetings, BH. Brian Holland, wish I could be seeing you November 20th. I think we missed an opportunity to add that language to B in B to A, or cord and plug connected. Oh, no, Brian. Hold on. Let me double checkale. We put it in B. Where was it in B? It was sinks were receptacles. No, Brian. We took, remember, where it says in 210.8 B7, sinks where receptacles or cord and plug connected fixed or stationary appliances are installed within 6 foot. I think that's what you're talking about. We added that in the new 8 for sinks in 210.8a. So hopefully it holds. I'm almost, oh, wait a second. No. You know what, Brian, it's not that we missed the opportunity. I got to look, and I think you're right that did not, that failed. Hold on, because I know the task group was split. There it is. That was public comment 1755, and I'm going to call it up. Public comment 1755. Now, 1755, and I'm going to do a search. Where's my coffee? It was reviewed, and it was rejected. It was rejected. So, but you know what I think, Brian? I think you're right in a way, because here's what happened. When we first started talking about 1755, I believe it came up first. And then we started down another road on another public comment, and it passed because the code panel, this is really cool, and I know you were watching. The code panel migrated, and as we discussed the CPSC data, and we discussed a lot of the different information after we discussed public comment 755, we passed other language that contradicted, basically, in my opinion, it contradicted the motion that we made on that one. So I think, Brian, next cycle, obviously, we're going to have to revisit that. But you're right. It is a missed opportunity to increase safety in GFCI protection. I think we missed the opportunity. Sorry, I got that. GFCIs reduce the potential severity of shock. Ooh, there's a good topic. All right, Brian. Severity of shock. Shock is shock, right? I mean, it reduces the likelihood of death due to shock. That's a good discussion. That's a good debating point, because there's a difference between shock and electrocution, right? Because you can possibly be shocked and survive. GFCIs does not limit the amount of current that flows through your body. If you do the math and you figure out that based upon me touching this hot conductor, I'm going to have 10 amps flowing through my body. Because I'm on a GFCI doesn't mean I'm not going to see 10 amps flowing through my body. I am still going to see 10 amps flowing through my body. I just won't see it for a long period of time. So I would tend to agree, if you define shock differently, to say I can be shocked but not die, then I can be shocked but not die, then I could say, will you decrease the severity to the body? Yeah, it doesn't pass for as long of a period of time. So you could possibly have had more damage. I would tend to agree. You're swaying me. You're not even here, and you're swaying me. Anyway, they also increase the NHZX boy. I can't remember who your name is. Let me know. NHZX boy. Who is that? I got to write down that Gravity Mind. I need a paper. I'm going to write down that Gravity Mind is Gravity Mind is Brian Holland. NHZX boy. You need to tell me your name. They also increase the likelihood that you'll discover a miswired circuit. Oh, absolutely. I'll give you a short one. In this house, I had some water damage. We had some water damage. So I had circuits that were not replaced because, and like can lights and stuff that weren't going to be replaced by my insurance company. And I understand the concern there. So what I did was I bought all GFCI circuit breakers for every circuit in the house. And to your point, some of them were tripping. And my electrician was like, well, now what am I going to do? I'm like, well, find the problems and fix them. And he did. So all of my circuits in this house are all GFCI protected. And I know that all of my current is accounted for. What goes out on that hot is coming back on the neutral. And I know the integrity of the circuit and all of the connected items are top notch. It was voted down. It would seem the resistance in the path between the ungrounded and grounded circuit conductors could create an ampere imbalance to trip the GFCI. It would seem the resistance in the path between the ungrounded and grounded circuit. David, if you grab hot and neutral, you are a load. Current will pass through your body, period. And you will not have the benefit of GFCI protection. Yeah, originally a NEMA PI, that's what it was. Lee, all right, Lee. Okay, Lee, got you covered, brother. Shock is trauma forced on the body. Oh, Robert, I knew you were going to get in on this. And you and I have had this. I knew there was somebody I had this discussion with, and Robert, you were it. Shock is trauma forced on the body. Electric is electric trauma. Electric shock is electric trauma forced on the body at roughly the speed of light. Very good point. I love it. I love it. GFCIs limit the shock exposure time to prevent ventricular fibrillation. Nihad, finally, the voice of technical. Toast. IA is our friends from Ireland said, you grab hot and neutral, we call you toast. Not a load, you are toast. You mean it wasn't nuisance tripping? No, it wasn't nuisance tripping. I love it. All right. So that's sort of what we did so far in 210.8. I'm just going to grab it again. And Brian, you are right. We did not accept that change. Does maintenance have an effect on tripping and clearance times for GFCI? Ooh. So here's the thing, Robert. Does maintenance have maintenance? It could, right? Here's the thing. You're supposed to test your GFCIs monthly. Now, the standard change to do some internal self-diagnostic testing, right? UL 943. Here's the mistake you don't want to make. You don't want to make the mistake of saying, because of the self-testing features that the standard requires on GFCI, that you no longer need to do the monthly test. The way the standard is written, if my self-diagnostic identifies a problem in my GFCI receptacle or circuit breaker, I don't need to open it. I don't need to open the receptacle or circuit breaker. The way the standard is written, that is one option that you can take. Another option is that when you press and test the push to test button, I don't let it reset. That is the way these all work. So many people think I've got the self-test feature and I don't need to push that button, and that is a wrong statement. So and proper maintenance is testing the unit. Now, there are various approaches to that, and I know heavy industrials have a big issue because they have GFCIs all over the plant, and I've heard this debate on 70E, and we had the debate on 70B for maintenance, and the comment keeps coming up saying, look, I have like 1,000 of these GFCIs receptacles in my plant. If I wanted to test these on a monthly basis, I could hire 5 people and they still wouldn't be able to test every one of them. So my advice is, regardless of where you're at, if you're going to plug something into a receptacle and it's a GFCI receptacle, press the test, push the reset, plug your unit in. That way you've tested it. So, and in your residential home, when you change the batteries in your smoke detectors, take that time to be forceful in going down and test all your GFCIs. Get your electrician, talk to your electrician from a residential perspective. Think about this. What I have on an annual basis, 2 times a year, I have an HVAC person, Bill, great guy. He comes to the house, or somebody in his organizations, they come to the house and they do a spring and a fall general maintenance on my HVAC. I signed a contract with them. Your electricians should be offering you the same service. Now, they may not be coming in monthly, but at least 2 times a year maybe would be great to say, hey, I want you to come to the house, do a safety check, and have them on speed dial so that if you have an electrical problem in your home, you can give them a call. That's a business opportunity. Anyway, any thoughts on Class 4 faulted managed power systems and how it relates to shock and electrocution reduction? Yes, I have. Mr. Holland, an Eaton cheers to you, matey. All right. What time is it? 12:41. We got time. There was a UL study on fault managed power. I'm just going to type that in. Understanding. Let me try this. I'm just Googling right now. That's an inverter based. Fault managed power. Managed power system faults. Fault management, UL. Did I put UL? UL, fault managed power. Fault managed power system. Fault managed power. Class 4, right? So that's going to be a new class 4. And I know that UL did a study on it. And I'm fault tolerant power systems, an overview. Can't find it. I'll tell you what, I'll try to find it and I'll post it on my LinkedIn site. But UL did a study for fault managed power systems, which is your digital electricity. I think Volt Server's a manufacturer out there that was doing something. Class 4, GFCI. I don't know what the heck. I'm just looking. I'm understanding. Anyway, they did a study on it, and I believe now there is a standard for fault managed power systems. So from a shock protection perspective, where my head is at, Brian, when we start relying on products for especially shock, it should be listed. And you pointed out it's a new article 726. So here's what I'm going to do. Let me show you something. I'm just going to take, as I know that I'm going to go to next edition. I know that view public comments. I know that NFPA, I know UL did some research on this and I can't think of the standards. So let me just see if I can remember 726. All right, so class 4 power systems. I'm looking for the standard. There's a definition. Class 4, UL 1400-1. So there's the standard number. It's UL 1400-1, I think. So I'm just going to do a quick UL 1400 search. UL 1400-1. Compliance, that's 14. UL 1450. I'm not finding it. It says see UL 1400-1 outline, an outline of investigation for fault managed power systems. Okay, UL 1400 outline of investigation. Now, you guys and gals out there probably may not know what is a outline of investigation. I'll give you a little overview. Let's say that you have this brand new, I've got this new cup. It's an Eaton cup, okay? And this new cup, we're going to call it a Van Ducky cup because it's magic. This cup prevents arc flash events. And you go, whoa. How does this Eaton mug prevent arc flash events? Well, as a manufacturer, I want to bring this to market and I want to sell it with that feature. And I want a third party to test this mug and demonstrate that it will prevent arc flash events. So I come up with criteria. I go out to say UL, and I say, this is what I want. I explain to them my cup. They take the cup. They look at the cup. They investigate the cup. They work on focusing on the cup. They'll play with the cup, watch what it does, and then they come up with performance requirements that they would expect a technology that does this in cup formation would do. And they call it an outline of investigation. They get industry experts. It is not an ANSI governed process. It does not follow an STP, a standards technical panel, but it at least gets a standard that really anybody can list to this outline of investigation and say, I qualify for that. And eventually, outline of investigations become either a part of an existing standard, UL standard, or maybe an entirely new UL standard. So this UL 1400 is an outline of investigation, and I just Googled it, and I do not find it, but it is in Terra, and it was accepted as language for the 2023 cycle in Article 726, if it survives the ballots and all that other good stuff. And it's called 1400 Outline for Fault Managed Power Systems. UL 1400 Outline for Fault Managed Power Systems. I'm just going to type that title in, and I do not find it. Codes and standards, that's energy at Sandia. No, I'm not finding it. And it might be on the UL site. I don't know. All right, so now you asked what are my thoughts on it with regard to shock protection, and as long as it passes the standards, that's my issue, or my thought process is, if I have a performance requirement and it passes those standards, then I'm good. Now, I have not seen this outline of investigation, okay? But if it's going through a UL process, and I would hope that UL, because remember, there's liabilities, there's all kinds of stuff associated with that. Yes, Tech Thursdays are going to be coming back. Right now, we are in the middle of a code making process, so I had to defer some of my, last night I was on panel 15, ended late. It was past 6 o'clock, I believe it was. So I was not able to do a Tech Thursday. And I think next Thursday, I'm going to be at the West Virginia chapter of the International Association of Electrical Inspectors. And the West Virginia chapter, we have a Tuesday meeting and then a Thursday meeting. And typically I am driving back. It's a 4.5-hour drive back to the house from down there near Charleston, West by God, Virginia. And so that's going to be I'll be in the car during Tech Thursdays next week. But I do plan to bring that back up. Thank you for that question. So no, you're good. You're good to go. You're good to go, brother. Thank you. I appreciate your interest. All right. So new Article 726. Now let's talk a little bit about digital electricity and this whole power limited circuits. I'm telling you, Brian, I think the future of the code is going to have to change in how we approach wiring structures like homes. Right now, what do? We do a VA calculation. And if I go to DC and I do LED lighting and I'm using this technology, I could do all of my lighting with this power limited stuff. And what 20 and 15 amp circuits would I need in a home? Think about every computer you have. You're coming out DC. What do we do in a computer? We come out of a DC, we have a little brick, and then we go to AC. That brick is doing a power conversion for us. Just think if you could eliminate all that. Televisions. There are refrigerators powered with this stuff. So I think that probably outside of my lifetime, but in the future, I think a lot of these residential structures and commercial buildings are going to be wired with low voltage wiring. I don't know. It's interesting. So anyway, I got a couple spam calls came in. All right, so 210.8. What else did we do? Not much else. And we moved the information, the exceptions. So you're going to see some changes. All the exceptions are at the bottom of, and that's a style manual thing, which though I think will help because we expanded some of the exceptions. You know, we had an exception for something that was readily accessible on the rooftops or whatever. Receptacles on rooftops shall not be, and it was under item 5. It says receptacles on rooftops shall not be required to be readily accessible other than from the rooftop. That doesn't have to be right under 5. We put that down at the bottom. So we moved some of the exceptions around and expanded some of the exceptions as well and cleaned up some of the language. And I think you'll find that. We also changed the name, the listed weight supporting ceiling receptacles, WSCR. That was a standard change. AC running on top of a DC signal. There's some engineering coming along. I'm telling you, you're absolutely right, Lee. You are absolutely right. There's so many things from an engineering perspective. There's changes in technology. The National Electrical Code has to keep up with those changes, and we want to make sure we keep people safe. We don't burn down homes. So some of the changes I like, some of the changes I don't. All right, 210.8. The other thing we did, specific appliances, and I'm thinking this probably, a lot of these things got overwhelming support. In specific appliances, and you know the debate that always happens, you got 422 out there, and this disagreement between, 422 impacts the appliance, we impact the branch circuit. So we're staying in our lane. We are requiring, if you have an electric range, and this would be even your cooktops, whether it be a wall-mounted oven or a counter-mounted cooktops, if it's electric, GFCI, protect it. Old Sergeant, how can I set ground daily pickup on breakers? What can I reference to help me learn? How can I set ground daily pickup? You mean ground fault pickup? Old Sergeant, I would say, let me finish this one. I'll try to address that. It's 12:53. And I think, I don't know if they want to break or not. So what we did in 210.8D, specific appliances, we added electric ranges, wall-mounted ovens, counter-mounted cooking units, clothes dryers, and microwaves to that list. And the other thing we did on outdoor outlets, we cleaned that up a little bit, and you're going to see a little bit of an expansion in the GFCI protection of outdoor outlets. And remember, the 210.8D, which is the specific appliances, it doesn't matter if it's cord and plug connected or hardwired. And I think D is where it's at. The stuff we're doing up in A is cord and plug connected. The stuff we're doing in D, addressing those appliances, doesn't care if it's cord and plug connected. I think that's going to make a difference in electrical safety. All right, so I'm going to close that out. Old Sergeant, ground fault. Yes, okay, so Old Sergeant, setting ground fault pickups on breakers. I'm assuming you're talking like you're 1,000 amps and above. There are various IEEE papers that try to address some of the issues, because here's what you run into. Selectively coordinated or coordinating your overcurrent protective devices with ground fault protection of the equipment so you don't trip the main downstream. NEMA is 95 years old and NFPA is 125 years old. That's pretty cool. Happy anniversary. Congratulations. So on ground fault protection of equipment, Mr. Sergeant, I would say some good references. I would look at coordination, selective coordination and coordination. You have to look at the trip curves of your overcurrent protective devices. And you got to achieve a couple goals. One, you want to protect the equipment, and 1,000 amps and above, that's service entrance equipment. You want to protect the service entrance equipment from internal ground faults. Yet you don't want to trip due to downstream ground faults. You want the equipment, the overcurrent devices downstream, tripping on ground faults before you take the main out. That's the hardest part when it comes to GFPE at the service entrance equipment. So when it comes to references, what reference to help you learn? I would argue the Buff Book series, IEEE standard. We'll end on this one. IEEE color books. The Buff Book there's a 2001 edition, and they're in the process of revising these things right now. IEEE standard 242. So IEEE standard 242. Standard 242. I have electronically the 2001 version. I've got in my library the physical copy. I think it's like a 1996 version or an 86 version. That's the one I have. I like the 86 version. But I'm just going to do a quick search on ground GFPE. Ground fault protection of equipment. Ground fault protection of equipment. I can't even find, let me just search on ground fault. There's ground fault protection. Yeah, ground fault protection is chapter 8. And they talk about different relaying schemes. I'm not sure what voltage levels you're at and if it's the 1,000 amps and above. But here's my advice on when it comes to GFPE. First, you got to understand selective coordination. You have to understand the time current characteristic curve. Buff Book will help you do that. Red Book is another good one. Red Book is 240. The Red Book is 241. Hold on. The Red Book is 141. The Red Book will help you understand, they believe, power systems analysis and design. Chapter 8 of the Buff Book, IEEE Standard 242, great place to start. Understand coordination, understand trip curves, understand the fact that even if it's a ground fault, the downstream phase conductors, because remember, a ground fault, let's say it's a ground fault on phase A. The phase A overcurrent protection trip curve for phase A downstream devices is still going to see that current, even though it's a ground fault, and it will open. If it's not coordinated with the GFPE upstream, the upstream device will open before the downstream device. So your goal in GFPE is to make sure that you coordinate and you still provide protection. And Dunkey Jacobs, if you're familiar with IEEE standards and whatnot, do a search for Dunkey Jacobs, ground fault protection. If you send me an email, I'll send you some references on GFPE. He showed that if you have a ground fault in service entrance equipment, it's going to go 3-phase within 2 cycles. Within 2 cycles. And there are a bunch of IEEE papers that say you need to set ground fault protection of equipment to trip within 2 cycles for you to provide any level of protection. So it is debatable. It's a hard thing to achieve, to get ground fault protection of equipment and get coordinated in a power distribution system. And the research and all of the testing that Dunkey Jacobs and others did showed that GFPE actually has to operate within 2 cycles to actually provide any protection. Because what happens after 2 cycles? The plasma cloud goes 3-phase and you're into an arc flash. That quick. And there are IEEE papers that demonstrate arc flash events in service entrance equipment, 1,000 amps and above, with GFPE protection to actually show it did nothing for you and that you need a very fast response time. So my opinion, my advice would be follow the NEC on the GFPE settings. You can set it as high as you want, up to a 1 second clearing time at 1,200 amps. Is your maximum setting, but provide an arc reduction technology. If you do zone selective interlocking, differential relaying, arc resistant equipment, active arc flash mitigation systems like the Eaton arc quencher. Other manufacturers make similar products. Then that is what's going to give you your protection. Your GFPE at a 1 second time delay, smoking weed. I don't think it's going to help you at all. But the arc flash stuff will contain, reduce, and limit the damage. Especially, take a look at the Eaton's arc quencher product. Phenomenal product. All right, so it is 1:01. I did 1 hour of Q&A Friday. I got to get back into panel 7 and watch what they're doing over there. And if you're not watching this stuff, this is better than the Olympics, man. I'm telling you what. Pete Jackson's in the lobby right now. He's going in on panel 7, getting in there. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Lee, have a great weekend. Happy Halloween. Get dressed, put some stuff on your face and all that good stuff. Thank you, Brian Holland, for joining in, brother. I appreciate all you do for the electrical industry because you do a lot. I know you do. And we got to get you on the program. We got to get you on IEI's program too. So thanks for what you do, brother. Thanks for all you do for the industry. Thanks for what you do for electrical safety. And all of you out there, same message. Remember, stay safe and what? Please, by all means, stay healthy. I'm going to sign off. Take care. Right.